it or something, or are you just planning to just put up the whole thing afterwards as a YouTube link?
I'm going to check that later. The Hangout is now on air, and so if you can screen share or get back to
the
yeah, awesome. Thanks again for making this happen, by the way.
Yeah, thanks for providing an excellent platform like this. It's really great that we can just so easily look at stuff. Okay, so yes, posting. Is there any way I can like have the chat so when I'm looking at the? Yes, I can actually just do this. There we go.
We could also use the Q&A plugin. There's like on the left side the Q&A sort of button. Maybe that's useful.
On what? Sorry.
So if you go to the left side of your screen in the Hangout, you also have a button called Q&A. So maybe that we can use that for questions. You see Q&A?
Yeah.
I don't know.
This one. Okay. Then how does? Oh, then like, so then like people can put specific questions in there that I can then see, or what?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna look at the chat. I understand how that works.
Cool.
Gonna do it. My genius system like before. This? Okay. Okay, link to the Solidity code. It's on GitHub. On this one here. This one here. There, I just like, yeah, it's probably easier to look at the code from there. Anyway, I just wanted to like quickly show the thing behind it, but like since everyone apparently seems to already understand contracts on Ethereum, and I guess that's also really what these hangouts are for. It's mainly for people who already understand and who are already Ethereum builders. So I just wanted to show the contract. But anyway, yeah, people already understand what it is, so I'll just go to the front end in here, AC, and yeah, there's like two basically really ugly front ends made in with what's it called, the Ethereum JS thing, right? That just plugs in and then communicates with the contract. And right now I have like a pre-made contract, this one, that I've put on my private blockchain in AC. And I've already messed around with it a little bit. But basically, so I right now, this account here has 75 of this eDollar thing, and then I can just send that randomly to other accounts, and then they'll get it. They'll get the balance. It'll update over here as well for them, so they'll get. Like if I try to send to this one here, but then the what? Great. How's that? Normally it doesn't do that. Normally you can just copy the contract, like the address.
It never goes as it should.
Okay, then I'm gonna send it to a contract. Then I won't be able to like send it back, but whatever. I'm gonna send this. I'm gonna send 50 eDollar to this contract here, which is like another eDollar contract. I've just deployed a bunch of them. Then send transaction, and then like the transaction goes to the blockchain, and then I mine it, mining. My awesome 10 kilo hashes per second. Oh yeah, I haven't been able to figure out like the latest update to the filter function thing in Ethereum JS, where it like updates itself every time the pending state of the blockchain changes. I couldn't get that to work, so right now I'd have to like manually refresh all the time. But I'm just gonna, once I get that to work again, I'm just gonna put the function that's on this button here in that automatic update thing, filter thingy. So it just constantly like tracks your balance and stuff all the time, as it should be. Great. Now it's not mining. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now I try to refresh again, and I just yeah, okay, so because like the contract recognizes eDollar as actually as 1/millionth of an eDollar. So now I just sent 1/millionth of an five millionth of an eDollar to someone else, because apparently I haven't put that in the latest front end. Yeah, so anyway, so it should show up here. $50 millionth of an eDollar is what I sent. So this is like my own balance here, right? And then this is the other balance. So that's just how coins work on Ethereum, basically. And that's not really the interesting part anyway. The interesting part is the issuance. That's where the eDollar, that's what makes the eDollar work, basically. That's what makes the peg works, basically. So now I'm going to go to that one. Refresh it. So now I have like, so this is like how it's set up for me with these this money I had on here. Basically I have so I have a balance of 74.999 because I sent 50 millionths of an eDollar just before, and then I have a debt of 75 EUSD, and then 20 ETH in free collateral, which basically means that I've sent, like that I have 20 eDollar in this, 20 Ether in this contract that I can withdraw at any time. So I'm just gonna take this out, throw them that, and then refresh it manually. Oh, there doesn't update here because I have to mine this. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna mine that first. Oh, great, now I'm not watching the. Okay, no, it didn't write anything. Can I like? I should probably like prepare this or something first. Okay, now I can see this part at least. And what? Okay. Okay. Anyway, now at least I withdrew the 20 Ether, and if I do click refresh here, then my free collateral is 0 Ether, and then I could deposit 20 again or whatever I wanted, or I can turn some of my locked collateral into free collateral, which again, like free collateral is just Ether. Like it's basically just a balance of Ether that might as well be in your address up here as it might be in the like contract itself in its internal balance. And then the way the peg basically works is that you have to, if you want to like issue new EUSD, you have to put up 3 times the amount, or 2 times the amount that is now, 2 times the amount of EUSD you wish to issue in with Ether as collateral, and then that Ether is permanently locked, or like it's lost basically until you burn the same amount of eDollar as you originally issued, and that means you always have to buy the EUSD back at some point. And then the way that the system basically reaches the 1 USD value is like, one part of it is that there is like a feed that I call the peg feed, which basically measures whether or not the feed is currently holding. And then if the peg feed, and that's going to come from like something like Augur eventually, like a decentralized oracle of some kind, which is like a trustless source of information on the blockchain. Hopefully, if it works, it probably does, so it's gonna be fine. But then that's basically continually going to update whether or not the peg is holding, which is defined as whether or not there are any buy orders on any open market anywhere that value an eDollar at least 99 US cents. So if like the spread is beyond, it's like if the spread is above 1%, then the peg is not holding it. Like then the system or the contract is like thinks the peg is not holding anymore, and then it doesn't allow anyone to issue new eDollar. And this is to prevent basically the failure mode of a pegged coin like this, which is based on I guess it's basically based on the ideas that Vitalik has talked about with the shelling coin system, which says that there's basically like when there's like when you have to like decide on some arbitrary number, then in a case like this for like a currency that's you know pegged to something else, then what the market will like coalesce on, the value it will end at is supposedly $1 US, because everyone's going to think that that's the one amount that everyone can basically agree on, that this is what it's most likely to end on, and then the market just automatically reaches that amount. And then the idea of the eDollar system is to take that a bit further and then have the DAO, the backing DAO, standing behind it, which basically earns income from the system being useful, because it earns income from the collateral. So the more people you use the system, the more income the DAO earns. And then they are incentivized to always enforce the peg. And they also have some other tools like the forced cover and stuff to make sure that it stays at 1 USD. And then to prevent like the only other failure mode, or like the only other shelling value, which would be 0 USD, like that the eDollar could become worthless, or like people could panic and then they just panic sell it and just get rid of it because they believe that in the future it will be worth $0. And that could happen by someone manipulating the market by dumping a lot of, like issuing a lot of coins and then dumping them and then spreading FUD or something like that. And then that's why there is the issue restriction that the peg has to be holding in order for someone to be able to issue the coins. So now I'm gonna yeah, now I can't actually cover my position. By the way, let me check run on the DAO. Yeah, that's like you can have like you could potentially have like this failure thing where like the peg fails, which is also something that could happen to like new bits, for instance. You know, like new bits have this it's like another pegged currency, which basically works by having a lot of liquidity providing custodians, basically a lot of people who all agree that we're going to buy and sell the new bit at $1 US. And it works because everyone believes that everyone else believes that it's going to be worth $1 US in the future, so they feel safe buying and selling it at the 1 USD value. But then if at some point like there was a really strong information shock, basically, like suddenly there's a lot of new information, which could be fake, which could be FUD or anything like that, or like or like a single market suddenly breaking the peg or something, then that could result in like an avalanche or like a cascade of failures where everyone who used to believe that the future value of the peg currency would be at the peg, and then now they think it's going to be something else. And if it's going to be something else, then eventually it should reach zero, because if the peg isn't holding, then the currency is worthless because it's supposed to be worth the peg. And then that's how the Schelling point of zero is reached. And it's also the same with BitUSD and eDollar. eDollar is basically BitUSD, like a simplified version of BitUSD, you could say. Has a sort of the same issue mechanics. Okay, yeah, okay, so I'm just gonna issue some, I'm gonna put in some free collateral, say 50 Ether. Okay, yeah, and then it does this weird refresh thing, and that's just because it's a shitty, like, HTML document with hard-coded JavaScript I've made. And like, I can't use the anchor links because they somehow mess it up. I don't understand why, but so I'm using these button things, like the button tag, and they really make it behave weirdly. And that's just because, I mean, this is just a test front end. I'm probably going to pay someone to do it right. I don't think I'll be able to do that myself. Maybe Robert here. So we have to mine it. It already updates up here, but it doesn't update in here yet. So just have to wait. There we go. Stop mining again. Click fresh. Okay. So now I have 50 Ether in collateral, and the price feed says that the price of Ether is 5 USD per Ether. And this is supposed to come from like Augur, like a decentralized oracle, that just puts this price into the blockchain all the time. And then like the maker, the DAO, is like sort of controls which sources this price feed comes from. But there are like some restrictions, like there are delays on when they can change the feed price, or like the price source, the feed source, for instance. As a user, you can basically trust that this will be correct. And this is also the price feed is the most fragile part of the system. Basically, that's the only part that could really just, like, if it fails, then the whole thing collapses and everyone could lose their money. So obviously that has to be really, really well done. And ideally there will be a whole bunch of different like feed sources, and there'll be like fallbacks and all kinds of stuff to prevent anything ever going wrong with that, because it could really be catastrophic. So I'm going to put up, say, 40 of the 50 Ether as collateral, and then it just like automatically gives me the amount of EUSD that this amount of collateral can create when I use it. In the future, I'm gonna make it so like you can choose how much collateral you want to issue it with then a minimum of 200%. So if you want more, you can put more in, and there are some advantages to putting more collateral, which is like there's a smaller chance that you get to the hard call where you can lose all your money, and you can also go outside the forced cover range. So like if you put down a lot of collateral, then even the DAO cannot force you to like cover your position, which in some cases can be advantageous. Okay, so now my balance has increased and my debt has increased, and my free collateral is 10 and my lock collateral is 70. I'm never going to get all my lock collateral back because I sent like a tiny amount of this to a random contract that I can't control. So, okay, I'll just show, and now have it here, and then I can send even more to this contract. Should be 1. So this is what the contract interprets as 1 USD. This. So if I send that and then mine it, then I should have sent 1 U. Whoa, that was quick. Yeah, so now I send 1 eDollar to this contract. And then like, if this was a person, then I'd have to buy that back. Like I could have sold it for Ether or something if I wanted to take a leveraged position in Ether. Then I'd have to buy it back again at some point in the future, basically. And then what I'd be doing is I'd be betting on the price of Ether increasing relative to the dollar. So I'd benefit from buying it back later. I'd be buying it back at a lower price in Ether terms, basically. So I would have profited from that, which is just basic like a leverage position, basically. Yes, so now I have the balance here and the debt, and then I just want to cover as much of, now I want my locked collateral, locked Ether back. So I'm just going to cover as much of my debt as I can, which is almost, I'm just going to cover 173. I can't do the full cover, so I have to like put it in manually here, but when people actually use this, I think they'll just be like they'll be using several different accounts and then just doing partial and full covers. That's a lot easier. Like the only time you really be using, like the only time you'll be using the partial cover is if you basically you use everything you own to leverage your own position with. Then you can like leverage. Then if the collateral requirement is 200%, then you can do a 2x leverage, or like a 1 to 2 margin position, basically. And then you have to like, and then it's a bit convoluted getting out of that position, because then you have like a long range or like a many positions where you like first you leverage, first you put up 1 Ether, and then you use that to issue eDollar with, and then you take that eDollar, buy more Ether, and then with that new Ether you issue more eDollar, and then you buy more Ether, and then eventually you're going to approach a 2x leverage position. Okay, so look now. So now I almost have almost all my Ether back as free collateral, and only this amount is locked collateral, and then this is gonna stay locked forever. Or not entirely. I could actually almost get all of it out as well, but wait, not all of it. Half of it. I could get half of it, and then the other half would just stay forever. Or wait, I could get 5. Okay, I could get some amount of it out left, but there's some of it that I'll never be able to get back because some of the eDollar is locked up in a contract somewhere and it's never going to leave. And that's not actually that's not actually a problem for the system. It's not too much different from Bitcoin, where it's just like it just increases the value of the currency over time when people lose it. Like when one guy loses some of it, then it's going to then it just benefits everyone else because it reduces supply. In this case, what it just means is that the amount of Ether that is locked in the contract is a small amount, like a little bit higher, and then will just stay there and basically be used for staking or validating or whatever, be used for income forever. So the DAO will have a slight amount, like a slightly higher income, and then that income can increase liquidity a little bit more, which should end up benefiting the users, basically, in kind of the same way that the people losing Bitcoin isn't a problem. Or in a way it can be said is actually good for the ecosystem. Of course, it's supposed to be made so people don't lose money. I mean, and don't send money to contracts and that kind of stuff. But that's all something that needs to be done in the front end, and it needs to be done right, basically. Okay, was this a good enough overview of how the issuing and sending works for like the front end I've made so far? Or does anyone have any questions or like something I need to show or something that isn't clear about this fancy UI here? Then I guess we can just do like discussion basically, like I wrote in the Ethereum builders post. So like basically if anyone wants to know anything about it, about the economics especially, is probably what I'm best at answering, then we can talk about that, or other stuff, other subjects. Yeah. Yeah, so the problem with stable coins from my point of view is that when you don't get them, then they're just totally weird. They don't make any sense. But once you actually understand how that works, they're pretty simple. So I have like a hard time understanding what it is people don't understand. So if anyone has like specific stuff they want to know, then I'll try to explain it. I've tried before to like make something like what's it called? Explain like I'm 5 with it, but it's not that simple to simplify, because from the point of view of someone who understands it, it just like it's basically just very high level resources in the matter. There aren't yeah there I mean there's like the blog posts by Vitalik, and then there's the white paper of eAssets, which is like the only resources I really know about stablecoins. But they all concern them, like they're all about a system that's slightly different. But maybe like I'm gonna make a forum post on Maker DAO about the different stuff, like where so people can go and read about the what are they called, seniorage shares, which is what Vitalik he prefers, I think, or the eAssets, which is what BitShares uses, and which is like the first implemented system of a stablecoin. And then there's also NuBits, which is kind of different, but also sort of a stablecoin.
I think a DAO tutorial, like an idea, is great, and I'm not sure there has been any out there yet.
You mean like for what a DAO is in general?
Yeah, like set it up, as you said, like a post in this case for eDollar, I assume.
Yeah, but I mean, a DAO is separate, right? Like, eDollar isn't the name of the DAO, because eDollar is like a coin basically. The DAO is the maker, is actually a separate coin, which is also a bit complicated. But there's like another separate coin that profits from the eDollar coin basically. And yeah, DAOs in general are a subject that's also really difficult to deal with. I guess it's not even really properly defined what the DAO is, because different people have different different ideas of what it is. The way I think that Ethereum, at least originally, saw DAOs was like it's basically a contract, or basically a contract that controls something, and that the contract itself is controlled by voting. And that's also how the maker DAO is going to work. It's like a coin, and then that coin can be used for voting, and then that voting can be used for doing stuff, like basically maintaining the eCoin, maintaining the eDollar system, and like maintaining the peg and all that stuff, and making sure the price feeds are good, and yeah. this is a good point. Watch out for bias sites like hardcore libertarian stuff. This is one of the problems with blockchain economics, because it's all based. It's mostly based on hardcore libertarian ideas. And I guess actually, yeah, not really, but like there is this thing, this Hayek money thing, which is like one of the money theory ideas, and that's like, I think actually Nubits is supposed to be an implementation of Hayek money, because Hayek money is like, it's backed by a basket of goods or something like that. And the eDollar and bit assets, they're not like that. They're like a fungible CFD basically. So if you know what a CFD is, then it's a little bit easier to understand how a stablecoin works. And a CFD is basically just like a contract, like a bet basically. Like you're making a bet on the price of something. And that's basically also what stablecoin is, right? It's basically like one guy is betting on Ether going up, and then the other guy is betting on whatever. He just doesn't want volatility, so he's betting on the US dollar because that's what he normally uses, and then he just keeps using it.
How did you come with the idea for it, and why the name eDollar?
So the name is like, I've really thought hard about like a good name for it, and then eDollar I've just not been able to. eDollar is just the best I came up with. I simply have not been able to come up with anything else that also probably explains like that it's a stablecoin and also has a proper like what's it called, like trading symbol. With eDollar I can use EUSD. And yeah, if anyone has like suggestions for like a name that's like a good brand and that kind of stuff, that like works well and still communicates that it's a stablecoin and communicates stability and whatever usability and that kind of stuff. Kind of like, I used to hate the name Nubits, but now I actually kind of like it because it's like it's original and it's easy to remember. It's like a brand name, so they actually have a brand, the Nubit brand, which I think is great. So if anyone can come up with a name like that, then either pick. Yeah. The problem with that is like either pick is even more difficult to explain to someone than either, for instance. And that's also the problem I've come up with most of the names, is like the names raise more questions than they answer, and it's supposed to be the other way. And that's why I think, eDollar is like an ugly name, but at least it explains that it's email dollar or something stupid. It's so 1990.
It feels a bit 1990. eDollars. Now send money electronically.
Actually, I wanted that like eDollar at first. When I thought of it, it was this E, or like this she thing. But you can't use that. It's the point of it is that normal people are supposed to be able to use Ethereum and use dapps, right? So you just can't use that with normal people. You need to use stupid letters for stupid people. You can't use fancy letters. So I guess actually maybe it can just end up also be called this. So like you can both call it eDollar and C-dollar or eDollar or like this letter when you're in writing, and then people can just use whatever they prefer. Or maybe I'll suddenly come up with a better name in time to change it.
I think it's pretty cool that you're open to suggestions and so from the community. So maybe that will bring a cool name. Otherwise, I'm just thinking that something like, Tony says, something else than dollar, might be better in the long term, since we're pioneering all this sort of stuff now, and they're still scratching their head when they say Bitcoin, and this is like, oh, this is something built on top of something that's even further than Bitcoin, you know? So just thinking also from that angle.
Yeah, actually, I want to like my idea with it is that eventually the eDollar is not going to be like eventually it's not going to be pegged to the dollar. It's going to be pegged to like a basket of assets, basically. It's going to be like a CPI coin itself, like the EBigMac thing. If you saw that on Reddit, the eBigMac, someone suggested, which is actually basically that's the right direction. That's where a currency should go in the future, because you know the dollar is collapsing and all this stuff. Eventually, at some point, it will not be the right strategy to like the default currency for like a system like this. Yeah, I actually thought about that, like just called eCPI, or maybe just call it eCoin, which is what I call the contract or like the system in itself. Yeah, that's also what I'm thinking. The E is okay. Like it works well also because you can use it for like, you can have like you know, you can use the eCoin contract to peg your coin to anything. So you can also peg it to gold or Apple or apples. You can both peg it to the price of apples and the price of the company Apple. And then people can speculate on that or use that for hedging and stuff. And that's really useful to have. Basically, like anyone can make any derivative at any time and profit from keeping it, as I call it, like market making it, and basically just make it work. And then anyone else can speculate in anything in the same permissionless way that everything in blockchains work. E-monies. There's actually something called this. It's like spelled like this. That's the best name ever.
Oh, right, I think I remember these. It was like right when we had also the Genesis set and all that stuff. In Muni, this thing happened, and some people were comparing, since we were still at the stage where people were wondering, okay, so what is this Ethereum? They were comparing it to this thing, eMuni, and I still don't know exactly what it is. So it's funny. I'll look into it now.
It doesn't matter what it is. It's going to the moon. That's what's important.
It's going to the moon, right?
Oh, by the way, I also saw this question here. Right now, Bitcoin is on the ramp. Is on ramp from fiat to digital currencies. Will the price of Bitcoin affect the eDollar? At first, like eDollar will. Oh yeah, I didn't even show that. That's actually what I was supposed to show. But like at first, eDollar will like work like Bitcoin. That's basically the idea. It will yeah. So let me show that. Rather, there's just one stupid gimmick I'm going to show, because that's the only part of it I've implemented so far. But basically, so you're supposed to be able to put a Bitcoin contract in here, like, and then the front end, the JavaScript front end, recognizes that as a Bitcoin address, and then what it does is it does like an API call to Shapeshift, the instant exchange service called Shapeshift. And then it's like when you click send transaction, what you're actually doing is you are sending eDollar to an address owned by Shapeshift, and then when they receive the eDollar, then they instantly send Bitcoin to the address you put in here before. And that's actually really, really easy to implement, because Shapeshift is just a really awesome service. It works super easily and instantly. So like sending to a Bitcoin address from the eDollar front end, like from the eDollar system, is completely like sending like Bitcoin is. The only difference is like the 12-second confirmation time in Ethereum network. and then when you receive stuff, you can like, so this is a part I've implemented of this so far. You can go to receive, right, and then you're supposed to have like your name, your name rec thing, like you're registered in the name rec contract in Ethereum. So you're supposed to have like your Ethereum name that you can receive money at, or your Bitcoin address, and then you generate the Bitcoin address by clicking there, and then you get like a Bitcoin. This is like a shapeshift Bitcoin address, and it's supposed to be like if people send Bitcoin to this address, then that Bitcoin instantly gets exchanged to eDollar, and then you receive eDollar to this address or your name name once that's in there, or address or whatever. I don't know what's actually best to do in the front end in the end. Maybe it's better to just send shapeshift your address as well. Of course, right now this is not a Bitcoin address that leads to Ethereum, because it doesn't work yet. So this is like if you send Bitcoin to this address, then you're sending Litecoin to some random Litecoin address, and that's just how shapeshift works right now. So, and then it's like an instant as well. So actually, I guess maybe shapeshift probably want one Bitcoin confirmation. Well, I'm pretty sure they do that, at least one. So okay, so it's not instant, but it's pretty quick. It's as quick as sending Bitcoin anyway. So it's Bitcoin quick. It's receiving Bitcoin. And then so like the average user can actually use, like, they don't even have to use eDollar on Ethereum at all. Like, they can just use eDollar as a Bitcoin wallet, where your Bitcoins don't fluctuate in value. And that's also, so like the Bitcoin market is where basically all the effort from Maker is going to be done. Because that's everything will depend on how much money you can send and receive with this system, with the shapeshift, at any point in time. And they have like you need a lot of money to be able to like get to like reasonable levels, which I guess is probably like you need to be able to send at least 10 Bitcoin at a time. That's probably the minimum, I think. So like you could or what's 10 Bitcoin? That's like $2,000. So you need to be able to send like $2,000 and receive $2,000 without having to do anything extra. And that's what I will aim at in like having available at launch. Yeah, this is a really good question. Yeah, this is the second, another thing like that. Of course, this cannot be implemented until there's actually side chains and two-way pegs and stuff. But I've seen something called BTC Relay, which is like some guy doing side chains on Ethereum, basically, like two-way peg on Ethereum. And once that's implemented, then it'll be possible to have like a currency that's like a trustless Bitcoin sitting on Ethereum, and then you can basically have a price feed for Bitcoin. And then what you just do is you just go to the contract, and then you have two different kinds of collateral that are both tracked at different prices and have different limits. But I guess they probably have to be the same, like they have to be around the same limits. So that's then it will also be possible to use Bitcoin as collateral. And then maybe also other things, like maybe you could even use the shares in the DAO themselves as the collateral too. But that would have like I still need to think about how that would work out, because that would have some other problems. Like then there'd need to be a limit to how much of any kind of collateral there can be, or how much debt collateralized by a given kind of collateral there can be at any point in time. So that's something that I'm still thinking about. But with the price of Bitcoin effect, eDollar. This isn't like the price of Bitcoin will not affect the price of eDollar. unless in a case where Bitcoin is used as eDollar collateral and Bitcoin crashes and there's like a black swan event because of that, and then like some of the eDollars become under collateralized, then Bitcoin could affect the price of eDollar. But otherwise, Bitcoin is completely like, it's just like the rails, or like the liquidity intermediate when you buy or sell eDollar, for instance. So another thing I want to try to get to work is to like have like Coinbase integrated directly in the front end. So like Coinbase and Shapeshift basically linked together directly in the front end. I think that's like with a new API. I think it could be done fairly easily. The user still needs to go like off the app when they sign up for Coinbase. But once they sign up and once they have a user in Coinbase, then you could actually have like a system where, basically here I guess in this, I mean when the UI is actually good and there's actually like intuitive something like set up the way whatever way is best for an app like this, then in the area where you receive, you can get your money from, you can fund your account from an Ethereum address, like with eDollar directly, or with Bitcoin, or with a credit card, and then the credit card thing actually just goes through Coinbase, and that would just make it feel so much more seamless from the point of view of an average user. Because that point is like it's like you're not even using cryptocurrency anymore. You're just using dollars basically. Of course, with the slight issue that Coinbase doesn't, at least not always, instantly credit you instantly. So you could end up in the situation where you haven't realized that you're dealing with like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency underneath, and then you put on money with your credit card, and then you get like another amount because the price of Bitcoin changed. So of course there still have to be like disclaimers and stuff about that. But I think it could really work. Like, you could really make a big difference if the apps directly have credit cards integrated, and it feels like you're using credit card directly.
Coinbase is planned as a first step, or are you planning on adding more than just Coinbase?
I guess Circle also have a similar API, so they could also be added. And actually, there's also that Coinify thing, like a Danish version, like European version of Coinbase. But they don't take credit cards. They take like bank transactions. But ideally, what it should be like in the future, when when Ethereum has taken over the world, then you'd have like services like Coinbase basically, just selling eDollar directly for a US dollar or whatever local currency, and that would also really make those services a lot better, because of that very issue where like you pay $100 for Bitcoin, and then you end up receiving $80 in Bitcoin once you get the Bitcoins, that kind of stuff, right? That's a really big problem. That's something that a stablecoin. That's one of the issues a stablecoin solves really well. Yeah. Shapeshift and Coinbase into EtherX. Yeah, maybe I think it will not be like done directly into the EtherX official front end, because Shapeshift is centralized, as some people wrote here, and so that goes against like the philosophy of EtherX. Because I mean, EtherX is like a neutral platform basically. It's not really. It's not supposed to like. At least that's what I understand about it, right? It's like it won't really endorse any particular service or a product or coin or anything like that. Of course, they could put Shapeshift to Ether, so like Coinbase to Shapeshift to Ether into EtherX, and then people could buy Ether with a credit card directly in EtherX. That would be pretty sweet. But ideally, the way I think is the best to like the best way to like ensure that Ethereum and Ether becomes Mt. Gox proof is basically by using like that's I think eDollar, like having the actual price discovery of Ether done in something like a stablecoin like eDollar or something like that. Because then the place that's really vulnerable is basically the price discovery market, like Mt. Gox was back then. Where like I mean, if someone is like going to trade, you know, if some guy decides, okay, I'm gonna sell my Ether, then there'll always be like the price is like the biggest market. That's where they'll go if they're going to sell it like a bigger amount. And if we have that as a stable coin that cannot be goxed, that just exists on the blockchain, then the whole system will become a lot more resilient. Assuming, of course, the stable coin works and is like secure and stuff, and that's still far off. So maybe that's something we'll see at some point. And then every on ramp can just be like places where you just buy eDollar directly for dollars, and like you just exchange one to one. That's really simple. It's very suitable for local trade as well. You know, like local bitcoins. You can have like local Ether where people they just buy and sell eDollar one to one with US dollar plus some flat fee for providing liquidity, and then it becomes really easy to deal with, and you don't have to like bid and like bargain depending on what area you're in and the kind of stuff that happens right now with Bitcoin, because it's more difficult to do price discovery in that peer-to-peer fashion. Okay. Any other questions and stuff? What do I need help with? Yeah, that's actually what I wanted to get to now, because the thing I really need help with is people to do like all the other assets, like other than dollar. You know, because we also need, yeah, we actually need everything. Like, so we literally need every single asset in the entire world eventually needs to be on the Ethereum blockchain. And that can be done with the exact same contract and just a different price feed. So anyone who wants to like become what I call a keeper, which is like a market maker that also has some more authority over the market, they can do that with like any asset, and then they can collateralize the asset with eDollar directly. Like, so, like I explained earlier here at first, is that you can like, if you collateralize your stable coin or like your asset, your derivative asset with another stable coin like eDollar, which is like eDollar is specialized in being a currency and specialized in being a non-volatile asset. And at first it's pegged to the dollar, right? But then over time it can be pegged to like a basket of assets, like the CPI or commodities, and something that makes it, hopefully, like makes it the least volatile asset in the entire market, right? So it averages the volatility of all other assets, and then it gets the least volatility because of that. Some sort of system like that. And then that means that you only have to, when you're trading the other assets, you only have to worry about volatility of the other asset, because the eDollar, eCoin volatility is minimized. And that makes it really, really easy to market make, and very easy to analyze the risk of market making that asset. So it becomes really easy for someone to like market make gold, for instance, against eDollar, because what you can do is you can just use a very simple bot doing what's called remarketing, which means that it looks at the other market, like it looks at some broker. And by the way, I will provide like a fully made bot for this, so anyone can just do it by they don't have to actually like make it themselves. They just have to basically run the bot on a server or even their computer or whatever they want. And then what it does is it looks at the broker, whatever broker you're using, and then you have some money at that broker. Let's say if you want to create the eGold asset, or you want to like market make, you want to like do gold with the eCoin system, so you create eGold, and then your remarketing bot looks at your broker, and looks at what prices the broker is currently selling gold at and what the prices they're buying gold at. And then the remarket bot just puts the same prices with your new, like the new coin you just created, but at slightly higher levels, with a slightly higher spread, basically. So like they make a tiny amount of more money, and then every time someone buys or sells gold from you, then you just instantly make the same trade with the broker. So what you're basically doing is you're like mirroring the broker's order book onto the blockchain, and then you just profit every time someone trades with you. And it's really easy to profit from this. You don't really have to do any trading or any like strategy. You just have to like run the bot, and then every time someone goes to you and like uses your system, like gets liquidity from you, then you profit from it. So eventually, like if the platform itself, and then people will trade this on EtherX most likely, right? So if EtherX becomes a very used platform, then there'll be lots of people buying any kinds of asset there, and then over time you could see like a huge ecosystem of basically every asset that people are interested in buying or selling or speculating on. Then they can trade it there, and then so anyone who wants to like help with this, they can just pick your favorite asset or favorite group of assets, and then make those, and then collateralize them with then use the eDollar as collateral for them, and then then you can profit from market making it, like from being the guy who buys and sells it, the biggest buyer and seller of it. But you will also profit from the contract itself, because the same way that eDollar profits from its collateral, then creators of other assets, or like other contracts, they will profit from eDollar. Basically, the eDollar contract, the eDollar DAO maker will pay other contracts that hold eDollar just for holding eDollar, because by holding eDollar they increase the value of maker, because the eDollar they hold ties up Ether in the eDollar contract, and that Ether is used for staking, and that staking provides income, and then 50% of that income is passed on to the other contracts. So that's also like a way to monetize it. So there'll be two sources to make money from if you become a keeper, as I call it. But additionally, I also need people to just like join Maker, like join the DAO, because there needs to be a whole range of like a bunch of people who do voting and governance and basically help like run and also audit the DAO and audit the coin. And the way you join the Maker DAO, or the way you join the ecosystem, or I guess it's like an ecosystem, right? Like an ecosystem within the larger Ethereum ecosystem is, as I see it, it should just be like organized on the Maker DAO forum for now, at least. So if like anyone's interested in joining this and helping out, or profiting from it, or trading with it, or using it for like using the eDollar to do leveraged Ether trading, so like you can leverage the amount of Ether you hold, your exposure to Ether, then they can join the forum I've made there. And then I hope that over time, like we can gather a group of like traders and market makers and that kind of stuff that can use that as a base of operations, and then basically do like market making, not just of eDollar and those assets, but also like other kind of assets that could be traded in eDollar, for instance, or just traded in general. So you can check that out. just gonna link the forum. So you can click it.
Really exciting stuff, man. I can't wait to see this project growing and to see how more and more people will join the effort and how it will evolve in the future. Would you be interested in the coming weeks to have another session to see how things have progressed?
Yeah, sure. I'm thinking we could do like a weekly hangout, basically, where people can just
Oh, that even better, even better.
so then I can
So
just
I'm sure I'm not the.
and we can like
Please
talk
go
about.
on.
Yeah, I mean, it was just I'm thinking that I could just come back like every week. We just the people who are who want to do it, and like be involved with it, and the eDollar and the other assets and the other paid coins and stuff. We can just hang out once every week and talk about the different things. I mean, another thing is there's also other ways to do stablecoins, and I hope that Ethereum ends up having more than just one system, because like that's basically the strength of Ethereum, right? Is that if you have like many different stablecoins that are all collateralized in different ways and have their supply controlled in different ways, and if one of them fails, then the other ones will still work, and Ethereum as a whole will not really be that much as much impacted by it. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm hoping. We can have like a stablecoin hangout, weekly stablecoin hangout or something like that.
Sounds like a great idea. Looking forward to seeing it grow. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that are also interested in this topic. And for example, now, since we did this hangout on air, apparently there are some limits regarding the number of people that can attend the hangout. But in the future, if so, we are actively now working on integrating WebRTC instead of Hangouts, so replacing the Google stuff. So I think through that we'll get rid of these limits. We can have a bigger call, even bigger one.
Okay,
So
but otherwise, like right now, is
I
it
don't know what
is
to
this
say else
live to
than.
YouTube right now? Like right now, you can. There's some link on YouTube where you go and then you hear from this.
Yeah, but at the same time, you want maybe more people to be, actively engaged and exchanging ideas and all this stuff. Watching on YouTube is sort of passive.
Yeah, if it just was some way to like integrate the chat there, of course. Yeah, it's probably better to just do it from the ground up instead of like trying to duct tape the thing onto itself.
Yeah. So it started just as an experiment to see if people will actually get together and hang out and do this stuff. So we can do stuff and collaborate better. Since until now it was a bit of a question, like what projects are out there and who is working on them and who can I get in touch to do something, all that stuff. So,
Also, to this question, Terrence Sullivan, do you plan to create a DAO that will launch the EUSD contract? Yeah, that's basically like the way it's actually going to be done in practice is that I'm going to like create the EUSD contract myself first, and then I'm going to I'm going to deploy it myself, and then I'm going to deploy the DAO contract, and then I'm going to like designate the DAO contract as the keeper, which is like the designation that exists in the eDollar contract for like the entity, the blockchain entity that can control all the different parameters. And then the keeper contract has a bunch of like the keeper contract is able to do these things like um, like setting the feed, like this is basically updating the feed. So this will work a little bit different. This will be like a pass-through function sort of. So like whenever someone pings the like activates the function in the keeper, then what the keeper will do is it will automatically like get the feed price from Augur and then push the feed price using this function to to the eDollar contract. And then and then there's like some upgrade considerations with it. So like the keeper is only able to change important permissions after like a period of priming, basically. So it has to first say, I want to change this value. Like, so for instance, if it wants to change where it gets the feed from, then it has to first say, I want to change this feed provider to this whatever, and then it like says what it is. Like, so it needs to say what it wants to do, and then it has to, then like that becomes public for like a week, and then after a week it can actually be done. And then in the meantime, in that week, if they're like trying to basically scam everyone, which is what you can do. Like if you change the feed to do something wrong, then you can just destroy the entire system. And if there is this priming time, like this countdown period, priming period, then people will have time to like panic and alert everyone and hopefully get as much money out of the contract as possible. Or if it's like some single rogue person who started that, like a delegate, which is what, like, so delegates are like the designated people who are like voted in by the owners of the DAO. So if like there's one delegate who's like acting wrong, then within that week they can basically kick him out, and then they can revoke, like stop the priming and stop the fraudulent behavior. And the end result should be that it's going to be really, really difficult to actually basically destroy, like mess up the system by messing with these things, like the collateral requirement and that kind of stuff, which basically like which are the constants that the entire coin is based on. Okay, I guess like, so you could do interest rates on eDollar, and basically what the interest, like if you have an interest rate on any asset or any derivative, basically what it means is that the person taking the opposite position, which in this case, like the people who issue eDollar, they're issuing it so they can sell them, so they can buy something else instead that they think will be worth more, usually Ether. So like you can use it to go long Ether, to like a leverage position. And then if you put like an interest rate on the eDollar, then the way that would like what that will mean is the person who is shorting the eDollar, like the person who's issuing the eDollar, they have to pay that interest rate to the person who's holding the eDollar. And the reason why you have the interest rates for that is because basically, like if a currency is total crap, like the ruble or something, then you put interest rate on it to make it more desirable, basically to hold, and less desirable to short. And I think I don't think we're gonna go with like this kind of like interest rate targeting the way that central banks and fiat currencies normally do it. But an option, because there is this system where the eDollar makes money from staking with the collateral, some of that money can be passed on to owners of the eDollar. And specifically, I'm thinking that right now is that any contract that holds eDollar, like holds some amount of eDollar that's above whatever, some basic rate, and then like holds its holds eDollar over a longer period of time because people are using it for whatever reason, then they will get they will be eligible to get 50% of the income that their eDollar they are holding is generating through staking from the collateral. And that could be used to create like a sort of bank contract, which basically all the bank contract would do is it would take the money paid to the paid by the maker, by the eDollar DAO, to that contract for holding the eDollar, and then it just takes the income it gets and distributes it to the people who hold the eDollar in that contract. So that would be sort of like the interest rates from bit assets and shilling coin. But the difference would be this would most likely be like a constant interest rate. It would never change because the income that the staking eventually generates will basically be stable. It will be targeted at some amount that is stable to hold at, because like it's only going to be a small amount of the eDollar collateral that will be used for staking, because it staking with it ties it up and also puts it at risk and stuff. So and I'm thinking that the target for the income will be 5% per year of the total amount of eDollar. So that would put the eDollar interest rate at 2.5%, which I think is pretty. That's doable. It's possible that it could be even more, like that the staking income could be like 10%, or perhaps even more. Like that depends on how much staking income you generally get from staking. And then then the eDollar interest rate could get pretty high, and that's, yeah, I guess that would just be great. I mean, that would just get more people to use it, and that's always good. To Terrence, I thought you couldn't update a contract after it's launched. No, you can't update a contract, but you can like change the keeper. Like, so in the eDollar contract itself, you can designate a new keeper, and the way you would update the keeper is then by just designating a new keeper that's like a copy of the old, is a copy of the shares in the old, and like full copy of the old, of the distribution of the old keeper contract, but with some new rules in it. And then there would also be like a really long priming period, or like countdown to like designate a new keeper, because that would be like that's the second most important thing you can do, the second most critical thing you do to upgrade. So like if you really need to upgrade the coin itself, the only way you can do that is by like basically migrating the coin, or migrating what gives the coin value, which is the collateral. So like then you'd have to basically transfer all the collateral from the eDollar contract to another contract, and it needs to be possible to do that, because there will be some upgrades that are needed from that, but that's going to be like really complicated. Like that's going to be like a process where there is like this priming period, and then there is like some system to that gets all the balances from the old contract and then integrates in the new contract, and then makes it usable just like the old one, and then the front ends would be updated to the new contract. But that's going to be really complicated. I haven't really looked into how I'm going to do that yet, because that could really mess. Like, if you have a function that allows you to transfer the collateral, that's another of those like super critical things that could just that would actually allow someone to just steal all the money if the security for that function wasn't good enough. So that needs to be basically really thought through before it's implemented. Okay, anyone else have any questions? Just one thing I'm going to make also is like, I mean, eventually I want the whole thing to be fully anonymous, like zero coin anonymous, when someone figures out how to do that. Supposedly I've heard that it can be done, like you can do zero coin in Ethereum. So if it can be done, then I bet someone will do it at some point. But until then, at first, the anonymity options will be like centralized coin join, basically. So like I will have a server that like controls a contract where if you send money to that, like if you deposit eDollar to that contract, and then send a whisper message to my server that proves that you are the one who like you own the address that just sent the amount to that contract. So that would be like a normal, just signing it with a public key, like signing a signing a message, of course, of who you want the money sent to, of course. So like you will tell my server who you want the money sent to through Whisper, but but on the blockchain you'll just deposit the money into the CoinJoin contract, and then my server will then put up the then it will only be that server, like that account, that injects the the recipients of all the transactions in the CoinJoin. So like then it will take all the whisper messages it got from the people who were doing a CoinJoin over the past whatever the interval, the CoinJoin interval is, which could be like a minute or something, or maybe they'll even be like optional amount. So you can either do like a 1 minute CoinJoin or like a 24-hour CoinJoin or something. And then it just injects all the recipient transactions itself, and then after it's injected them into the contract, then each of the senders, they have to sign the transaction, like they have to tell the contract that now the contract can execute, basically. Now the contract can send out the money. And then once everyone has said it's okay, like then every person's client will verify that the CoinJoin, like that their address and their amount is correct. And then they will give it a go ahead if they verify it's right, and then it'll send out, and then like what you've achieved is just like very simple CoinJoin, basically. And then that will provide some or not anonymity, but at least scrambling, obfuscation, I guess, for the average user. And will be like, it'll be as, I think this system is basically what Darkcoin uses, so it'll be as anonymous as Darkcoin until someone figures out how to do full anonymity. And then also it'll be centralized, like, so you still have to trust that my server erases all data from like your whisper messages. And of course it won't have to be my server only, like anyone will be able to have a service like this. So you will be able to like choose who you trust will delete the transaction data. And there could even be like a market for this, right? So maybe you have to pay a small fee to do like a CoinJoin like this. So like there'll be like a competitive market for who's the most trustworthy with your identity, basically, and your transaction history. And then what you do is you only give your transaction history to them, and then you trust that they delete your transaction history fully. And then you get Darkcoin level anonymity. Yes. So if anyone else have any questions or anything, then you can ask them on the forum. Go to makerdao.com and then post like your questions there, and I'll answer them as soon as I can. Okay, and then like, yeah, I want to do like a weekly hangout where we just talk about stablecoins and economics and stuff, and also eDollar. And I can probably post about that on Reddit and on Ethereum builders, and then we can figure out what time works best. The problem with this time we have right now, I figured out, is that it doesn't really work with people from Asia. So it has to be probably at like, yeah, that's a big problem. That's one of the big issues. It has to be like in the afternoon or something in European time. So then in the weekend, maybe the weekend afternoon GMT, that might be possible both for Americans and Asians and Europeans. Okay. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you, Rune, again. Awesome stuff. See you soon.
Yes, see you all.
Okay.
Go to the forum and ask your questions if you think of anything.
Thanks everyone for joining the call. See you next time.